Kalimera. Good morning to everybody. My name is Ashley Benigno. I said I'm studio lead and business design director for Fjord, as you're saying, and Fjord is part of Accenture Interactive. We do design and innovation, and specifically what we do is kind of around service design and user experience on services. We work cross-industry, and each year we tend to look at kind of trends that are coming for that year. But what we did as part of this year was actually look at what we think is a meta trend, what we're calling living services. And kind of living services, the reason we're giving this name is that we see are the result of two forces. So one of these is obviously linked to, you know, the Internet of Things or the Internet of Everything, as a Cisco colleague was saying. And what we're really seeing is that there's this digitalization of everything that's happening at the moment. And at the same time, what links to this also is these liquid expectations that come from customers and consumers. Now, by liquid expectations, what we mean is that there has been a big change in the way that we perceive services and products that come from people. Now, until very recently, so for example, I flew in last night. If I'm comparing the experience I had on Air France, I would think of Alitalia, or I might think of British Airways. So I do direct comparisons within a specific industry. However, that is no longer the case. So the bar is raised because with digital services, what we're seeing is now, and with the digitalization more and more of digital touch points within services and products, what is happening is that then consumers are mapping that to best practices that they recognize maybe in another industry. So for example, as I landed, I was in Paris yesterday, I come out of the airport, I use my Uber app to call my cab. I don't need to worry about having money with me. I don't need to have a whole series of things. I have a very fluid and seamless experience. So next time that maybe I'm interacting with my bank, I may be wondering, well, why doesn't my bank give me a similar experience in terms of digitalization? So this liquid expectations has really changed, as I said, the way that we perceive when we build services. And linking it in then to this idea of Internet of Things is how it brings us to this idea of living services. And essentially what we're seeing are three main chapters in the digital world. So from the 90s, you know, kind of web and internet. So this is maybe when my journey began here. The introduction of browsers meant that kind of the common person could now use what had been a very kind of technological-driven tool. And it was an epiphany for myself, as maybe a lot of other people too at the time, to think this is going to change radically the way that we live, that we work, that we play, that we study, that we do a lot of things. And these have not clear-cut chapters because, of course, kind of web and internet have carried across. They're still with us. There's still laptops on tables. There's still workstations. But if we look at statistics, you'll also see that they're very much kind of going down. And again, mobility has not ended. We are very much, again, in the heart of mobile. But mobile, again, has changed the way that we relate to each other, the way that we live and work, again, more than probably what the web and internet did. And similarly, it changed those access points. So from a web, we have gone now to local apps, etc. And what we're seeing is this move now that we have entered this living services era. And again, we think this is going to bring very profound transformations, and actually it will accelerate even more the changes we have seen in these kind of first two waves of digitalness that have come into being. So, A, why do we call them living, and how are they going to change the way that we live our life? Is one is that, you know, they're going to lead to the automatization of a lot of kind of, you know, low maintenance decisions and actions. They can learn from what we do. So if I start having a smart thermostat at home, it will understand more or less the times I come home and react accordingly and set the temperature to the temperature I like in my home. And maybe it will learn that at the weekends it's different from what it may be during the week. You know, there's this powered by data and analytics. We've seen a big move there. And again, something that has not happened till recently that is giving us this wealth of information that previously was not available to let us kind of learn and let our services kind of grow based on that. And as I said, there's going to be these rich objects that are kind of all around us that are kind of taking this learning on board and bringing it out together. So what we're saying really is that we should be thinking, again, about environments and not so much industries. So again, there's a big mind change from specific verticals to understanding how environments or behaviors are changed by the living services introduction. And really what we do see here is kind of things that are kind of moving across the whole spectrum of our daily lives. Our homes is being seen very much as a key battlefield these days, especially among the big internet players. So example there is kind of Amazon Echo, which has come out, which, as you may know, is kind of an object that is voice-activated. It replies. It's a kind of Siri-like object you could keep at home. And you ask it questions, and it answers back. It learns from what you like. It can order things for you, of course, on Amazon, but it can tell you a recipe. It can help your kids study. If you Google, if you haven't seen it, kind of their promotional video for this, so there's a utopian element, but also a dystopian one on some of these tools and the effect that they're having on our life. So as I said, but not only Amazon, again, Google, with its acquisition of Nest, has been moving very much into looking to own this home space. And Apple, with its Apple HomeKit, again, is looking to create an ecosystem similarly that is driving and helping achieve certain elements within this space. So the whole domotic's very, very important, we're seeing. And similarly, our bodies began with a movement out of San Francisco and the West Coast a few years ago, which was called kind of the quantified self. And as usual, this was kind of very fringe, and it was, kind of hackers or fitness freaks, but people that were starting to monitor their bodily functions, how many walked, how often they walked, how their sleep patterns went, the kind of food intake they have. And again, what we're seeing is this kind of trend from the fringes moving very much center stage. So the object both here, kind of Bella Beat, this bracelet, is a bracelet that, again, helps monitor your sleep functions. It's giving you ideas on your stress levels, on the level of activity and exercise that you do. And again, what we have is something that has moved out of a technology field and has actually, based on its aesthetics, moving into kind of fashion and lifestyle on this. So, but not only at the bodies, we're, again, I think, seeing how there's a trend towards greater responsibility in taking care of ourselves. And this is being reflected in other industries, say like in insurance, where from the idea of a black box in one's car, we're now seeing some insurers, like an insurer in South Africa, which is rewarding, is helping monitor people's kind of behavior, and they are rewarded based on their healthy activities. So one of the trends that we're actually looking at for next year, we're calling healthy is the new wealthy, because it's starting to have kind of a monetization of the way that we take care of ourselves. So, as I said, but this is about families and education too. So there are tools that are being used that are helping, for example, monitor children's behavior in school and provide real-time feedback to the parents. Often a lot of time for teachers is spent on keeping classes kind of, behaving properly. So we're seeing these kind of tools that are, again, showing if a child is not in school, there will be an immediate alert to the parents. So there's kind of tools like Be Here that are doing these kind of things. Or our work. Our work is being transformed, again, either from introduction of tools that have become services like TomTom, with TomTom Telematics, they are giving whole end-to-end logistics and real-time information on how their fleet works, the kind of movements and tracking of this. But we're also seeing, again, like in some startups in the UK, where companies are starting with the, let's say, behavior of their staff to monitor their kind of psychological well-being. So trying to understand how stressed or not they are, when there are moments maybe that we need to not be interrupted. So a lot of influences that are coming through this. And again, this is down to then to transport, what we see through transportation. There's blah blah cars here is obviously bigger changes also with regards to ownership and how we will have kind of sharing of elements. But again, going back to insurance, there's dynamic insurance that can be based on that. There can be dynamic learning based on kind of real-time traffic elements. There's introduction, let's say, in when things break or not. So really running down to augmented reality, to shopping, and these services that are living. So why is it now? I said it's this growth in connected devices, it's sensors. We've heard a lot of stats already from the previous two presentations on this. We have cloud, there's big data, there's this evolution in UI. UI. Again, we're moving away. There's more and more towards voice. We're calling it zero UI. And there's also an element of gesturalness that is coming into play. And consumer expectations, which are liquid, as I said. And my time is up, so just to end, what we're saying is in this era of customer expectation, the battleground is experience. Experience is where it plays out. You want to delight your customers. There needs to be differentiation in execution, and the destination should be living services. So thank you.